Look out for the leaders in the boulevard. Watch out for the readers in the courtyard. I ain't gonna fake it, I come through. I keep on working, what about you? Stand up for the heroes and the avant-garde. Heads up, cause the rebels got the best card. Real world ready, Forbes in review. It's all in my hands, what about you?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of our podcast. My name is Vishakh Bastine. I am a current student at Hult Boston pursuing Masters in International Marketing, and I'm so excited to dive into today's topic leadership, thriving in the changing world. Joining me is someone who truly represents the team, Professor Vicki Townsley, a distinguished leadership expert, Hult professor, and director of Ethical Quest Limited. Professor Townsley brings a wealth of experience in both academia and corporate world. Welcome, Professor Townsley, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction.
So let us start to get you know a bit more. Could you share a bit about your journey? What inspired you to become both a Hull professor and a director of your own company? And do you have any experience in academia and corporate world that shaped a unique approach to leadership?
Sure, Vishak. So thank you again for the lovely introduction. And hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to see us and hear a little bit about what we do at Holt. So I've always been, probably like many of you, passionate about learning my whole career. And my career started in 1995. Some of you were probably not even born at that point. And I was working in a bank actually in New Zealand, hence my accent, and doing a lot of professional development. So my background is very much working in business and initially in banking, but I've worked across industry and globally. And throughout my career, I've done a lot of professional development. So as a result of doing that, one of the great mentors I had in business always taught me that when I do learning and development, which is my professional career, so working in human resources and talent management, my mentors taught me to go to research and go to academia, always to get the latest to inform any kind of learning design and delivery that I did. So right from the earliest stages of my career, I was influenced to go to places like Harvard or, now I would go to Holt. There's lots of great researchers here to get good data and case studies and intelligence to inform the learning programs that I build, because I design them, and that I facilitate. I like to keep fresh and up to date. I don't want to be old and crusty. So I believe there's a lovely, real strength and rigor that research brings to the content that we deliver. In my business at Ethical Quest, but also in my role as a professor, I draw from some incredible thought leaders.
Wow, now that's truly amazing and inspiring, Professor. Really, really good to know. So I just wanted to ask you, like, leadership today looks very different than it did a decade ago. So, like, in from your point of view, what are the most critical skills leaders need to thrive in today's rapidly changing world?
What do you think, Vishak? Based on your studies so far, what do you think?
So I think, see, for in my opinion, AI has been taking over now. I feel like AI is making everyone lazy nowadays. So it's just that because AI is literally doing everything. I honestly miss the time when everyone used to put hard work into it, because there's no creativity nowadays. Everything is just a computer based,
Mm.
like, doesn't come. So even if it's leadership, like, it has to come naturally. Don't tell a computer to do it. Then why are you working then? you know
What a great point I love the point you make about it has to come naturally. I agree. AI can't replace you or any of us.
exactly,
And
exactly.
when I teach leadership, the people follow people,
Hmm. Oh, true, true.
right? So what kind of person am I? What kind of person are you? am I the kind of person somebody would want to follow and be around? That's the most basic of when I think about what is leadership. That to me is at the most basic. But I think it's hard to be yourself when you
Mhm.
ask me about what's changed. And today's world is full of constant change, and it's so stressful. You just turn on the news, and there's the geopolitical environment is incredibly stressful. The world is
Yeah.
suffering from so many problems. So
Mhm.
people generally, I think, all walks of life, people are more stressed than they've ever been. And I think that's the great challenge for all of us in
Yeah.
being leaders, because if I want to show up as the kind of person I really want to be, to try and be my very best self, that is not always easy when you're going through difficult times. So I think that's the big challenge for all leaders. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think it, I know it, because I work with a lot of very senior leaders in my business.
Mhm.
So
Understood.
I see C-suite, like the top tier of an organization, every
Yeah.
level,
Yeah.
the most junior, the most senior, people are stressed.
Yeah, yeah. Stress, honestly, stress can change a lot of things. But I completely understand that. Like even when I'm studying at Hult, we also tackle like real life world challenges. Like with my group projects itself, I'm able to this whole
Yes.
semester, even though this is my first semester in Boston, I was able to tackle a lot of that. Now next week onwards, my business challenge is also gonna start. So I'm looking forward to tackle
Well done.
tackle that. Yeah. So I hope it goes well. Fingers crossed.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. So, like you mentioned earlier about adaptability. So, how does emotional intelligence play a role in helping leaders navigate their uncertainty and change?
Well, it's the same as study groups. When you're working as when you're working as part of a study group and you have a
Yeah,
deadline and you've got pressure and everyone's tired because you've been working all semester, there's the pressure and the stress affects
yeah.
every individual. And some people in the study group will have very high work ethics, like yourself, I can
Yeah,
tell.
yeah, yeah.
That you want to get an A and you want to do a great job. And some people won't really care. They'll be lazy and they'll be using AI.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is where you get the challenges
It
in
is. It
emotional
is. It is.
intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, see, we all are humans at the end of the day. Even I myself procrastinate a lot. So, it just happens naturally. Like, I
Yes, but
honestly, even
when everyone's accountable for a grade and a team
yeah,
assignment, I think
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
where you asked me about emotional intelligence. This is
Uh-huh.
where I think emotional intelligence can be challenging because
True, true.
when things are going well, it's easier. But when things are not going well, that's when individuals get triggered. So I think there's great learning coming from when you study and study
Yeah.
groups, as well as there is in the real world, about
Mhm.
how to collaborate and how to support each other in the good times and in the bad times so that you can get
Yeah,
the best
true.
results.
True. Like we always make that, focus on the priority and then, for make our decisions based on that. So that's how we do it
Well
nowadays.
done.
So yeah. So like speaking of like prioritization, like the pace of the change is overwhelming and like, leaders face a constant flood of information. So how can leaders like yourself develop their strategic thinking and, effective decisions when it comes to like feeling so fast paced?
Well, if you pick up any book on thinking fast and slow, any kind of great research about strategic thinking and decision making, there's a theme that emerges, and one is I call it the sacred pause.
Uh-huh. Okay. Wow.
Like there's no getting away from the fact that to make a very important decision and to access strategic thinking, we have to create space to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. True.
So if I'm busy, 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 I'm not creating space. So there is actually something about, I call it the sacred pause,
Okay.
and just stopping and taking a moment to reflect and gather the right information from the right sources to gather different perspectives. I think that's really important, diversity. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another great strength, I think, of studying at Hull, because you do have excellent diversity in the students. So it's a
Yeah.
wonderful chance to get different
Yeah.
points
Yeah.
of view on things. And that's the secret sauce of strategic decision making and thinking is getting. I believe that we individually, including me, I'm limited by my own
Hmm.
experience, I'm limited by my own
Yeah,
knowledge. So if I have people around me who are different from me, who can add value to my thinking, that's to me that's hugely important for decision making and strategic thinking, as
that's
well as practical
yeah,
tools. I think learning that in study, practical tools and
yeah,
frameworks
true,
and
true,
the
true.
how tos.
Yeah, true. Even like that's one thing I love about studying at Hult. So the diversity is completely different. I was able to meet a lot of people from different countries and cultures, and I was able to connect with them. Like back home, it was just, it was majority of us were Indians. So over here, I have met like a lot of people from France, Colombia, Mexico, and I'm happy with that because I'm able to connect with them and understand their culture as well. So I'm always an open-minded person. I always look forward to you know discovering new cultures, traveling, and visiting new places. So like you mentioned about the pause, would that be an advice that you would give to the leaders to who embrace AI and other emerging technologies, or do you have any other advice that you would give?
Using I think
Yeah,
AI is a tool. I use it myself, and
yeah.
you said yourself you can become lazy now. So as a learning tool, I mean, I've delivered so many classes and I've seen some students come in, if you're doing a course on influence and persuasion, you've got 7 classes of 3 hours each. And
Yeah,
I've seen students come in for one class and submit an assignment using AI. I
yeah,
mean, I look at that behavior and I think, why are you even paying the money to come and do
yeah,
this
yeah,
program? Because there's no stickiness, there's no learning, there's no trying something out. Learning is, at Holt we say those made to do. It's about doing.
yeah.
And
True.
so AI, if it's used in that way, I think it undermines learning and growth. I
Yeah.
think it can be used in a way that can really add value to learning and growth.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, a clever way is using it as a. I saw it recently actually. One of my colleagues, Margarita James, who works in London, she
Mm-hmm.
was talking about an assignment she just did, and I thought it was a really good idea. And she encouraged her students to use AI as an additional team member
Oh, okay.
in
Wow.
the collaboration. So programming a persona, and I think it's such a good idea. So I could program a persona using a certain type. So if I had a whole lot of extroverts in my team and they were all creative and we
Yeah.
were missing an analytical thinker or a critical thinker, you could use AI as a persona and involve them in the collaboration. And you could program the persona to be a highly introverted, highly analytical. I mean, you could program it however you wanted, but then you'd have that voice, wouldn't you, in your
Yeah,
discussions,
yeah,
which I
true,
think is a
true.
really clever use of AI. That's a really good way to make sure you're getting a rounded point of view and a
Yeah,
rounded
true,
discussion.
true. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I really like that idea. I thought that was a great idea.
Yeah, that is actually a great idea because I myself for this semester I was able to study about AI. That was one of my subjects, and the professor Professor Imen mentioned that you can use AI for this. But then when we are
Yes.
using it, don't take advantage of it. Don't make it do your assignment. Use it
No.
as a tool.
Yeah.
Just don't take advantage of it just because I said use AI.
Yeah.
Because AI
Well, the
can be
other
used
thing,
to
yeah,
develop your skills.
that's right. And the other thing to remember about AI is if I'm using ChatGPT, so if I say to ChatGPT, can you create something for me?
Yeah,
ChatGPT owns the IP.
yeah, true,
It's
true.
really important to know.
Yeah, yeah,
But
true,
anyway,
true,
I think when used wisely, I mean I think it can really be a tool. But I would
true.
always say to people, you said the same thing yourself, and I agree with you. I think learning comes from doing, and
Yeah,
half the great learnings I've achieved in my career have been through making mistakes.
yeah,
Real
true, true.
fighting,
Yeah,
real
everyone
try
learns
stuff.
from their mistakes. That is very important. Everyone makes
That's
mistakes. We are not perfect, you know. So
right.
let's talk about like some actionable steps for our listeners. So for like
Mm.
individuals who are inspired by you and aspire to take on leadership roles, what can they do by today to start for the future, future proof their careers?
Mhm. So I would start with personal leadership. So when we started this podcast, we
Mhm.
I said leadership starts with people follow people.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of person? Am I the kind of person that others would want to follow?
Yeah.
What kind of person do I want to be? What kind of impact do I want to have? So I believe that leadership starts with personal leadership and knowing yourself and starting to think about what is the person I want to be? What are my values? How do I want to be perceived by others?
Hmm.
What kind of impact do I want to have in this world?
Yeah.
It starts with that knowing yourself and becoming self-aware and knowing what you love and what you don't love. But
Oh,
just
okay.
warts and all,
Hmm.
knowing and knowing yourself and believing in yourself. Because when
Yeah.
you do executive MBA, one of the big topics we have, the umbrella subjects, is called authentic leadership.
Hmm.
And under authentic leadership, there's lots of different topics. But if you ask someone what is authentic leadership, that's what it is. It starts with knowing yourself, knowing what your values are, knowing what your strengths are, and so I think that's a practical step. It's a piece of personal and professional development that helps you no matter what level you are in your career.
Yeah.
It's your north star. It's your north star. It's your who am I? This is who I am, and this is what I bring to any situation.
All right, perfect, perfect. So, like, what are some practical tips that you would give for leaders that can implement immediately and manage and
Yeah.
motivate their teams, like you mentioned?
Well, I would start with that. So if I know myself and I know what kind of impact I want to have, then I can actually start to ask for feedback. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a really practical way to find out, am I having the impact I want to have? To what degree am I being perceived in the way I want to be perceived? And
Uh-huh.
then acting on feedback. I mean, those three things are actually very big things, but it's a recipe for success. How do I want to be perceived? Going
Uh-huh.
into a situation with in a purposeful way to try and create the impact you want,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
asking for feedback and listening to it, acting on it,
True, true, yeah.
so that you can continually try and create the right impact in the right context. That to
Yeah,
me is a hugely powerful, practical way to continually develop emotional intelligence, which is self awareness and also
yeah,
social awareness, knowing how you're perceived by others and being able to adapt when
yeah,
necessary to create the
yeah.
impact that
True.
you feel is the right impact. I think that's a very practical and strategic
Yeah.
approach to leadership development.
Hmm. That's actually very true. Like, I feel like self-actualization is very important for everyone in this world. They need to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are and act based on it. You're completely right about that.
Sounds
So
so easy, doesn't it?
it is. It sounds easy, but it's the most difficult thing in the world. So like So, like you said, like leadership can be incredibly rewarding as well. But even though it's challenging, it can be incredibly rewarding. So, like, how do you personally stay resilient and motivate yourself in a fast-changing professional landscape?
Well, I think it is with the stress. That's why at the beginning I said this is one of the greatest challenges for leaders, because a lot of leaders I work with, including
Mhm.
me, I have a this is how I have an idea of what I want to how I want to be perceived, and I want to show up in the best way I can. But the truth is, sometimes it's hard to
Mhm.
be the best version of yourself. So it's really important to have strategies to help you to bounce back when you're having a difficult time. So I personally do
Mhm.
look at basic things. I call it the HULTs: hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or serious. So, am I eating the right
Okay.
food? Am I
Uh-huh.
getting enough sleep? I go for
Mhm.
walks in the forest every day nearly. I'll do some kind of exercise.
That's
I,
therapeutic.
I constantly learn. I'm always learning. I've always been a learner.
Mhm.
And I have loving relationships around me, really good people around me. I surround myself with the right kind of people because that helps me as well to have when I'm having a difficult time, to be surrounded by the right influences to help
Hmm.
me to bounce back. I think that's really important. But self-care, basic things, get sleep, eat well, try and get the exercise. It's really important to get those basic things right.
Hmm.
And I know when I was in my 20s, I was often out every night having 3 hours sleep a night. I mean, it's not the best way to look after yourself, especially
Yeah.
when you're studying, you
I
know.
think I think that mindset changes the more we grow. The more we grow, the more
Definitely
our
changed for
mindset keeps
me.
on changing. Yeah, I know it's changing for me. I can feel it already. Like my routine has changed a lot. So that's what. So
And
like
having fun, Vishak, having fun, having
yeah,
a bit
I
of
know.
fun,
I've had
very
like
important.
back in Dubai, I used to sleep back like around like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, but because I did not have
Wow.
anything else to do. So now because I have classes and stuff, I always sleep at 10, wake up at like 5 because I have to come here early. So I make sure I'm never late for class. You know, I always want to be on time. I made it a routine.
Well done, you. You'd be a great student. So
Thank you.
good
Thank you. I
example to
really
others.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Professor. So, I just wanted to ask you one more thing. Like, from your personal experience, has anyone inspired you, or what's the most valuable leadership lesson you have learned, and how did you apply it to your field?
Well, the person who inspired me the most was my father, and
Hmm.
he he said to me when he was when he passed away, he had cancer, my dad, and the last time I saw him when he was able to speak, because near the end he was on morphine, so you didn't get a lot of sense out of him. But when he could speak, he said to me, Vicky, the one piece of advice that I can give you is to, he said, that little voice inside,
Hmm.
listen to it because it never lies.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was my father, but just the last time I saw him before he passed away. And those words have stayed with me forever because that's what I believe the authenticity is. It's that little voice inside. Because if in my career, as if things are meant to be, if I'm supposed to follow a path, if something feels right, there's usually an intuition or a strong
Hmm.
voice telling me to do something or not do something. And as much as that's not a black and white
Yeah. Yeah.
rational approach, it is
Uh-huh.
an important part of decision making because
Hmm.
it doesn't lie.
Yeah.
So
True.
that's inspired me. That's been a very inspiring lesson from my father to help me to be true to myself in my life.
That's truly amazing to hear, Professor. It's the same for me as well. My father and mother has always inspired me to, keep believing in yourself and keep moving forward. I'm truly inspired by their work. Thank you so much for that. So, lastly, I just wanted to ask for our listeners who are navigating through their leadership journeys, what is a key takeaway that you hope to gain from this conversation? And like, do you recommend any resources or books who are for our listeners who are looking to enhance their leadership skills?
Well, life is a journey of discovery, right? And
Yeah,
we never have a deadline. We're never at the end and go, okay, I've got it. We'll
yeah,
continue to learn and evolve and grow, and that's the beauty of growth and life. Really, is discovering new things about ourselves every step of the way.
yeah.
So, my top recommendation for reading would be, there's so many amazing books, but one I think that is in line with this podcast is Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. It's a wonderful book about personal leadership. It's a book that
Mm-hmm.
it's about discovering who am I. What the theme I've been talking about today is having the vulnerability to look in the mirror and go, who am I as a person? What kind of person am I? What kind of person do I want to be? Having the courage to change and face your fears and try to deal with the things that aren't so great about yourself. And also to have the conviction and strength to leverage what's really strong and positive about each of us. Because every
True.
human being will have pros and cons. All of us as you say, are imperfect, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
trying to work on this personal leadership and this journey of growth, having the courage to change. And the other thing I like about this book, Dare to Lead, it's called.
mm-hmm.
The Dare to Lead is about learning to rise, learning to stand in your truth, learning to stand in your power in a really confident, strong way. Because you
Mm-hmm.
take yourself to every situation, whether you're studying at a campus, whether you're leading a team, whether you're
Yeah,
running your own business, you take yourself to every situation. So knowing yourself is a very important part
that
of
is.
this journey
Yeah.
on the planet.
That is very true. That is very true. I will definitely check out that book for myself. Thank you so much, Professor. So, thank you again, Professor Townsley, for sharing your insights and experience with us today. So, it's been such an honor and such an engaging and
Oh, it's a
inspiring
pleasure.
conversation with you. So, to our all listeners, if you would like to learn more about Hull's Discovery Week and upcoming sessions focused on leadership, head over to hult.com, hult.edu/discovery to register. That's hult.edu/discovery for registering. Thank you for tuning in and see you again next time.
Thank you so much, Vishakh. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank you.